You think you know what we're going to talk about.
And welcome back to Three Fates Decide.
It just sounds more dramatic that way.
All right, so this week we are going to be talking about...
But just when you least expect it, we changed the game.
One Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
I mean, we always celebrated Easter.
Harry Potter the Half-Blood Prince.
So we're going to do another free talk, freestyle thing, no planned discussion.
At the end of the day, only one thing matters. We decide.
We're going to hit the main highlights.
That is the thing, like what we were saying back in that episode.
Quick recap.
Three Fates Decide podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Three Fates Decide. My name is Sam, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Liz and Mary. Say hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
And for your listening pleasure tonight, we are going to be talking about quote-unquote dark side of Hollywood. And as I'm sure most of you know, there's been a lot of craziness that has gone on over the last, forever. I think, honestly, in the lifetime of Hollywood, but especially a lot over the last couple of years. A lot of things kind of came out during the MeToo movement and even since then. So we're going to kind of dip into some of those situations. Obviously, we cannot go into all of it or else we would be here for the rest of our lives. Because like I said, the dark side of Hollywood has really been happening forever. So I think we're going to focus more on the more current ones. I may mention a couple of like the older ones, but yeah, so that's our discussion for this evening, because it's fun to talk about stuff that so disgusting is the stuff we read about all the time. It's
Yeah, I mean, you could just imagine how much more we didn't already know about that happened before.
Yeah.
And what could be going on now and in the future.
Yep. So I know a couple of the ones that we're going to talk about. Obviously, like Kevin Spacey is on trial in London. Harvey Weinstein is going to be having his trial, I think later on this year, if I recall. And then someone just popped up after kind of getting canceled all over the place, Armie Hammer, but in a totally different non-Hollywood light. And I think we want to kind of talk about that a little bit too. So yeah, it's kind of dip. And then, like I said, just kind of going through, obviously, like, I think most people know it. Well, if you don't know, you should, but Hollywood is not obviously an easy industry. It's hard to get in, but very easy to get kicked out, I feel like. And there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that shock you and disgust you, most likely. I know, like I've mentioned before, like I've always wanted to be an actress. Like I don't even want to be like a quote unquote Hollywood actress because of the crap that goes on, because I actually have dignity for myself, and I'm not gonna like put myself in a position where I'm gonna be uncomfortable or whatever. And so it's a gross industry. It really is. It's crazy. It's crazy. So just a little tidbit. But I know, like I said, we're gonna focus more on the current ones, but like just for information, when I tell you like this has been going on for a long time, like Judy Garland was really like a victim of Hollywood, which is, kind of why like her star rose so quickly and it kind of fell relatively quickly too. She got locked in onto drugs and all that stuff. Her agent tried to make her look younger so that she got better parts, because obviously for women, the older you get, the harder it is to get parts and blah 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 blah. So, it's bad. It's very, very bad. But who do we want to start with from our top three candidates here? Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, Armie Hammer.
That's kind of a tough one. I guess we could start big and go with Harvey.
Harvey, yes, the man that I feel like caused the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
That he really was the one. In October of 2017, the New York Times and the New Yorker reported that dozens of women accused Harvey Weinstein, who was a film producer, of rape, sexual assault, and sexual abuse over a period of at least 30 years. Over 80 women in the film industry eventually accused Weinstein of the same acts. He denied everything, saying that anything that happened was consensual, which, you know. He was dismissed from his own production company and expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. And every other professional association kind of backed away from him, and he kind of hid after that. Criminal investigations obviously started coming into effect from at least 6 of the women that took place in Los Angeles, New York City, and London. In May of 2018, Weinstein was arrested in New York and charged with rape and other offenses. In February of 2020, he was found guilty of rape in the 3rd degree and a criminal sexual act. In March 2020, he was sentenced to 23 years of imprisonment. The New York Times and the New Yorker were awarded the 2018 Pulitzer Prize for Public Service because of their coverage of Weinstein. And the scandal is basically what triggered the MeToo movement, which obviously I think everyone knows kind of, exploded both for good, and then obviously some people took advantage, I think, like they normally do. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I know he is going back to court. I don't know if maybe it's his appeal, but I remember them saying he was going back to court. I got like delayed. I don't remember why. Let me look into why. So if you guys want to tell me what you think.
Well, as a related side note, actually, there's gonna be a movie coming out in the near future that stars Carey Mulligan as one of the reporters who wrote one of those like expose articles about Harvey Weinstein. I can't remember which reporter she plays, but she plays one of the 2 female reporters who wrote one of the exposés that you mentioned a minute ago. So, yeah, even though not that this is ever truly old news, but, in the 365, 24/7 news cycle, this is not brand new information about this guy, so but it really says a lot that, there's gonna be movies based off of what was going on behind the scenes, as it were, that led up to this official exposure to the general public. Because, to be honest, before some of the accusations came out, like, I really didn't know much of anything about what was going on in Hollywood, since obviously I do not work in that industry, and I don't personally know too many people who work in that industry, or at least not like really deep in it. I do have a couple relatives that have done some acting gigs before, but they're not like major actors or anybody you necessarily may have heard of. So this sort of thing would never come up in discussion anyway, even if they actually heard any rumors. But yeah, apparently it's not. It is kind of like I guess, sort of an open secret, because there have been agencies in Hollywood that got implicated with knowing stuff was going on, like a certain really major agency that got involved in a merger with another agency.
Yeah. So I am correct. There is another trial. So where he was convicted was New York, but remember I said investigations were in New York, Los Angeles, and London. And on October 10th is the beginning of his Los Angeles trial date. So he only got 23 years in New York through the New York case. He could have more added on through Los Angeles and then London.
And God, I hope he does.
Yep. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. He's not young.
Exactly. I mean, how 23 years is probably the rest
A
of his
death
life.
sentence.
Yeah. At this point, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like in some of his, like pictures of him going to the courthouse, like he's been using a walker, which he never used before, like a few years ago. So yeah, he's a ill man in many ways.
Yeah. So yeah, and what was crazy was prior to this, really huge big name actors. I mean, he worked with everybody, Harvey, so these really huge big time actors, used to thank them in like their Oscar acceptance speeches and stuff like that. And a lot people were very, very quick to turn away and be like, nope, I don't know him. Harvey who? So, but he totally deserved it because he's disgusting. Disgusting pig. Disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with this guy, the thing is that like, okay, so if you had like one, maybe two accusers, there is room for, the possibility that, well, is what they're saying the truth? I mean, there's always that element of possibly it's true, possibly it's not true, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But I'm sorry, but when you have like 80 women and possibly more coming out and saying that, yeah, this happened to me too, then it doesn't really, indicate that this guy is innocent. I mean, there has to be something going on with this many people coming out saying that, yeah, he did this to me. I wouldn't be surprised if, more people were shunning him in the industry. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Should we move on to Kevin Spacey?
yeah.
Little Kevin Spacey, which I just remember when this whole thing started, like I was so sad because I loved Kevin Spacey. Like the man's a freaking good actor. Like, he really is, but he's another one that's just disgusting. But so in 2017, actor Anthony Rapp, who I love also, by the way, alleged that Spacey, at the time was on Netflix's House of Cards, had sexually assaulted him when he was 14. Since then, over 30 men have come forward with similar accusations, ranging from non-consensual groping to the attempted rape, all minors. Spacey initially responded to Rapp's allegations, and this is the kicker. This actually made me laugh, with a muddled apology note in which he came out as gay. And people ripped him a new one because he basically was saying, well, I'm gay, so it's not pedophilia type of thing. Like he tried to apologize saying, well, I'm gay. That doesn't mean you can touch a minor. Like, hello. And then he claimed on Twitter that he didn't remember ever being inappropriate and said he must have been drunk. So if he did do it, he's sorry. And following the initial wave of allegations, he was dropped by his talent agency and publicist. He was fired from House of Cards and scrubbed from any film products. He kind of hid and told Variety at the time he was reevaluating and getting some treatment. So, but more recently, he was trying to launch a comeback and, like he actually got a couple of roles, but now he's in London for court. And yeah, I don't think that's gonna hold. So there is a list of like all of the allegations against him. Some of them claim he was grooming them. He was pressuring them to have sex. Gave him alcohol and played gay pornography for him. Most of them are anonymous, but some of them did give their name. One was a filmmaker, said that he sexually harassed him on a movie set. One said that Spacey's assistant asked him to engage in a sexual act with Spacey. A journalist said that he groped his genitals at a British club. Filmmaker said Spacey grabbed my whole package at a Los Angeles bar. He liked to grope. That scene, yeah. A lot of these are he either groped them. One said he woke up to Spacey performing oral sex on him. One said he flashed his genitals at him. Yeah, these are wow. And then 20 men saying inappropriate sexual behavior. Sexually assaulted. Mom said that he sexually assaulted her 18-year-old son. Yeah, but a lot of them are he gropes. He likes to touch.
That excuse he came up with, it's like, that is just disgusting, because it's like, for those of you out there who happen to be gay, I'm sure you guys were very much insulted when he tried to use that as some sort of bizarre excuse for his behavior. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight, that is not appropriate behavior no matter what. Okay, it is not appropriate to force anybody into a sexual situation that they have zero interest in. And it's especially inappropriate to do that to somebody who's underaged when you're a grown ass adult. Okay, so that is ridiculous and despicable that he would say that as, like, his.
His reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just remember when I read that, I was like, he did not just say that. Like, come on. I mean, listen, I'm sure he is gay, and that's fine. That has nothing, him being gay has nothing to do with it, and it's so, what I feel bad about was Anthony Rapp got like, people went after him on Twitter after the allegations came out. Like, he used to get threats on the daily because of Kevin Spacey losing his job on House of Cards. Like, people were ticked, like, how dare you, say anything, you should have kept your mouth shut. What took you so long to say something, and blah, blah, blah. Like, the kid was 14. He was probably terrified he was never going to make it if he said anything. I mean, Kevin Spacey's been big for years.
Right. And, and the reaction to him actually saying something, well, that just proves the point about why people don't say anything.
Exactly. And it's like, what's crazy is, I feel like if it was a female, people would have reacted differently. Because it was a male, it kind of just goes back to the whole thing that men are victims too. Not just in homosexual things. In this case, it is homosexual, but like, men are victims too, and male victims get treated horribly compared to female victims.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like the way women were treated 20, 30 years ago. I mean, hell, there are some female victims who still get treated like garbage now. Everybody kind of knows by now that there are plenty of, women and girls who get involved in these terrible situations and they get victimized. And there's definitely a lot more sympathy for victims now than there were, 20, 30 years ago. But sometimes they still get treated like garbage, like it's somehow their fault. Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? Wearing whatever the hell I feel like wearing is not a license for a guy or whoever to grope me or, say nasty comments about like how I'm a slut or whatever. That is not an excuse. And it should be the same thing for men too, for male victims. Like, that is not an excuse, like what you were doing or what you were dressed up as, whatever rationalization being used, that is not a license, to do stuff without someone else's consent.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yes. Same here.
So let me see here. Yeah, he's currently on trial for 4 charges of sexual assault against 3 men and 1 charge of causing a person to non-consensually engage in penetrative sexual activity allegedly occurred between 2005 and 2013 in the British cities of London and Gloucestershire. I think I said that correctly. No, it's not Gloucestershire. So I'm sorry if you're British. But during Spacey's tenure as artistic director of London's Old Vic Theatre. He was granted unconditional bail last month, and his lawyer previously said he strenuously denies all criminal allegations, and he's confident that he will prove his innocence.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yep.
At all.
Nope. I was a huge fan of Kevin Spacey. Like I loved him. Again, because he's a fantastic actor. He's obviously a really shitty person, however. And, I'm able to separate myself now, like while I still watch some of his older, movies that I enjoyed, I can't look at them the same. Like he's ruined so many amazing movies now because it's disgusting. Like you're touching kids. What doesn't matter with you? Why? But like the thing is that he just got caught. Like Anthony Rapp decided enough was enough and told his story. And this was the big thing about the Me Too movement originally. Okay. The original concept was, to finally stop hiding from your abuser and come out with it. And it gave other victims of the same abuser strength to come out also. And you had a lot of very, well-known men of different things, whether it's the news or, movies or music or whatever, lose their jobs and now have to face the consequences of their actions because they had power once upon a time. And, it's like that's what the Me Too movement was about, was to finally stop being, victims and stop hiding from our abusers and stand up together and say, hey, like, this wasn't right and I'm done. What happened? A lot of women were able to, men and women were able to stand up and say, you know what, this happened to me and it wasn't right and it affected me and it'll affect me for the rest of my life. And this guy is, living life the fullest and it's not correct. And now they're paying the price. Excuse me, not just men who are paying the price. There's also women that are paying the price. We already talked about. I'm gonna go back into that.
Let's not get back into that whole ordeal.
No. But yeah, so that's what the Me Too movement is, and it's like we're finally starting to see the outcome of the initial movement. I know I mentioned before it has since changed, and I don't think it has changed for the better. Because then it kind of became like a witch hunt where certain women felt that they could take advantage of it, which again kind of goes back to what we talked about a couple of episodes ago and whatever. So we're not going to get into it, but yeah, I'm happy to see that, like with Harvey, with Kevin, that their justice is, in the process of being served for the men that were affected and the women that were affected in both parties. So I'm happy for them. And I hope that the victims all will get some closure from this and be able to, move on and well, not move on, but like continue on and let it,
Heal.
Exactly.
Hopefully they can heal from this.
I mean, in a related note, it's like in a couple of these cases, you know, the perpetrators are being investigated and they're actively being put on trial for the many accusations against them. And yet the sad part is there's still a lot of people who have never really been held accountable for
Mm-hmm.
what they did, and that's a real shame. I was actually reminded of how so one of the many things I did, obviously, during lockdown, like I'm sure many of you have, is like, you know, I had a lot of free time to watch stuff. And as like mixed reviews as I've heard about Vice, um, they did have this really interesting series. If you were to go onto Vice's YouTube channel, they have like this series of videos that they call Informer, where somebody is wearing a mask and they have voice changes, but they tell their stories about certain things about their lives, whether it's like it's mostly career related. And I kept it in my mind was this one episode about this male model who was talking about the abuses that models have to deal with. And he made it very clear that it's not just female models who have to deal with sexual harassment and, you know, being kind of forced to do sexual favors for better jobs and being forced to stay silent about it. But it's definitely also male models have to deal with this too. And of course, it's obviously not just like, you know, heterosexually, obviously. It's also, you know, uh, homosexual situations. So I was like really affected by it because he made it very clear that, you know, in his like, it's like about a 6-minute video, but he was also talking about how like if the Me Too movement was really working, like truly working, some of these people he personally dealt with, as well as friends of his in the business, other models have to deal with some of these other people that maybe he didn't directly have interactions with, but you know, he certainly knows other models, you know, friends, colleagues in the business that have dealt with other people who have done this to them. And he was like, none of these people that I've dealt with or my friends have dealt with have ever had consequences done to them for what they did to any of us. And it's kind of sad that he has to wear a mask and have his voice changed to even talk about this, because if people ever figured out who he actually is, he's going to get completely blacklisted out of the industry. And not enough models are willing to come out and say it. That is what happened to me. And it's kind of sad to think about that, you know, in other aspects of the entertainment business, that there are also people who have been victimized in this way, and the people responsible are very powerful. And in this case I'm talking about, it's a model. So it's like there are various people in the fashion industry, including designers that we are probably familiar with, and some of us may be wearing their stuff right now, have done this nasty stuff to, you know, people who are trying to, you know, do a career that they're interested in doing, which is like modeling, whether it's in catalogs or the runway. It's a real shame, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it is. It's you know, and I understand why some of these other models are too scared, because again, we have seen it time and time again what happens when you know, say something, you know, and they don't want to ruin their careers. I mean, models only have a career for so long, you know, so they're not willing to put it at risk, you know, but it's so sad. It is so, so sad. Like, God, I would do anything, you know, to help them, you know, like, I mean, yeah, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But moving on to Mr. Hammer, not MC, Armie Hammer.
I wish it was MC Hammer,
Positively, yes.
right?
So Armie Hammer found himself in some controversy
Again.
again, yes. I believe this was last year, 2021, right?
Yeah.
Believe so.
Yeah.
After a woman who says that she had an intimate relationship with him created an account on Instagram to share gruesome details of the bizarre sexual interactions she says they used to have. The woman also shared screenshots of explicit conversations that allegedly occurred between Hammer and multiple women via Instagram DMs. He's one of them peoples. He slipped into the DMs.
He slides right on in.
While most people wouldn't be surprised at the nature of dirty talk or sexting in 2021, the alleged conversations included talk of rape fantasies, desire to inflict pain on his partners, and one in particular, one in which the actor reportedly said that he was 100% cannibal, which is just disgusting. So,
That's just weird.
obviously everyone has their own kinks.
I'm not going to make the joke.
Do it.
Tastes like chicken?
Oh God.
So I've heard.
So the DMs have never actually been verified that they were sent from Hammer's account, but his ex-girlfriend spoke to Page Six and made similar claims against the actor. Meanwhile, let me just say, while he was having this intimate relationship, he was married. Just adding that in there. That's not, and what's sad is that's not even the horrible part is that he cheated on his wife. It's the other stuff. So, but yes, so an ex-girlfriend basically said that he used, same thing with her. She discussed that what their sexual relationship was like, how he was very controlling, and he, was emotionally abusive. And she told them kind of everything that she endured. And a lot of the focus from the public have centered around his sexual fetishes, BDSM to drinking blood to cutting toes and his alleged quote unquote cannibalism. But it really should be about the women that he emotionally, mentally, and physically abused and violated.
Yeah.
So he denied it, but he checked into a treatment, or he denied abusing, I believe. I think he did he ever come out and admit that he was into this stuff? He kind of just slipped away. He did go to a treatment facility.
I don't think he ever actually admitted it. I think what he said was everything that was done was consensual. I think is all he ever admitted to, but he never admitted to the
Because I know he was calling them bullshit. He was calling them bullshit, but then he went into a treatment facility and stayed from May to December of 2021, and then disappeared until recently.
Honestly, with his situation, I have a hard time understanding what to think about it because part of the problem is that there's only ever been one person who openly came out and said, yeah, this was what happened to me when I was with this guy. But it's like, there hasn't been much after she came out. Like, there's been like anonymous stuff online, but nobody else has ever really come out to say that they are a victim as well. So it's like now it's hard to tell what is the truth in this situation. I'm not saying that I'm not I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that I think anybody's a liar, but I'm just saying is that like there's just something weird about this whole thing beyond the accusations, which are already kind of weird to begin with. But it's like it just feels like there hasn't been much else happening to the story, to the whole story. It's almost like him getting shunned, like he lost his agents, he lost his publicist. He hasn't been cast in anything since this broke out. He's basically been like replaced in stuff that he was supposed to be acting in.
Well, I know he was I'm sorry to interrupt, but he was supposed to be in a movie with Jennifer Lopez called Shotgun Wedding, that he himself stepped away from. Lionsgate actually was willing to still work with him, and he decided to step away.
Right. But my understanding also was like a lot of other roles where like basically they just recast him because
Right.
of the scandal. But yeah,
Yeah.
that one role he willingly left it. But a lot of the other roles though, he was basically fired from. Like I said, it's hard for me to know what to think about this one again, because not too many women have actually come out to say, well, I went to file charges against him, which is the thing.
Well, there have been more that came out after.
But my question though is I'm wondering has there been any more investigations to any of these accusations? That's what I'm wondering. And I mean, I haven't heard anything in months.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has filed charges against him. As far as I know, they have not. As we know, he slipped away. He went to a treatment center, and then he's now down in islands.
Yeah. Yeah, because the problem is that like unless they really start investigating all these accusations and they file charges against him, this is going to end up being a he said she said thing,
Right.
unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying I had mixed feelings about this story, because it's not, like I said, I don't want to claim that I think anybody's a liar. I'm just saying is that, well, it's one thing to make accusations, but if nobody's looking into it, then like it's not really going to go anywhere.
Right, because like, what was the purpose? Was the purpose to bring him to justice because of the trauma that he put you through, or were you looking just to ruin his name but not go any further? Not to say if it is true that he doesn't deserve that anyway, but like I would think it would be weird if no charges were made. I mean, especially since they're claiming abuse and stuff like that. So
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know she went to file the charges, or at least that was the last I ever heard, was the original accuser had filed charges or was
Mhm.
was going to file charges or something to that effect. But like Liz said, I haven't heard anything since then about any of it, other than he went to rehab.
Rehab, right. I just found an article from December 2021. LAPD wraps up the Armie Hammer rape investigation after 9 months and sends it over to district attorney with charges unlikely. So I'm guessing there just wasn't enough evidence
Mm-hmm.
for them to file charges, which unfortunately is a common thing as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he went to a rehab in Florida for drugs, alcohol, and sex issues.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, so I guess my thing of it is that I've always tried to do you're innocent until you're proven guilty in a court of law.
hmm
So yes, he's been accused of this, and yes, he may or may not have done it. But right now, as of right now, he's still innocent of any and all wrongdoing.
Correct.
Because one, there's not enough evidence to prove otherwise. So I'm like Liz, I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I want to believe that he's guilty or not. I mean, I'm leaning more on the side that yeah, he probably did do it. He just was better at getting away with it and covering it up. But unfortunately, we'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, my guess is that there wasn't enough physical evidence for
Mm-hmm.
district attorney to file charges. And as you said, because he was not able to be tried, he is technically, legally speaking,
Innocent.
yeah, he's innocent.
Yeah.
But the fact that he went to a facility afterwards tells me that he's not that innocent.
Right. I'm wondering if she kind of, and I'm not accusing her of lying about any of this in any way, shape, or form, but I'm wondering if she maybe embellished
Yeah.
some of the things that he did because she was upset over it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
almost
don't know.
wondering if she was upset because he broke up with her, and so she decided to try to ruin his life, but I don't really know. I'm
Right.
just that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying she's lying about any of it either.
Yeah, like I said, technically innocent until proven guilty, but also your actions kind of show where you go. So the
Right.
fact that he went to a rehab and part of it he made sure to say it was for sex issues tells me that he was into some kinky stuff and
Yeah.
he made I think there's three women that came out and admitted or said he made me uncomfortable, he did this, he did that. um so yeah, like we don't know the truth. It's a he
Mhm.
said versus she said situation, but at the end of the day he lost his career.
Right.
And he came from a very wealthy family, so I don't know why now he is selling timeshares in the Cayman Islands. But it it's crazy. Like you go from being a Hollywood actor to selling timeshares in the Cayman Islands. Yeesh.
And yeah, and you came from a family with money. It's like, did you use up your trust fund or something? I mean, like I don't know.
But they cut him off. Maybe they cut him off.
I guess. I mean,
Could be.
I don't know how trust funds work, so I don't know like if that was even a thing that they included like reasons that you could get cut off. I don't know. I'm just assuming that he has a trust fund because like most of these like rich kids who come from families with like lots of money and generations of money at that, there probably is. So
Yeah.
So someone I'm reading this article from Variety and someone texted their mom to let them know that like the concierge is Armie Hammer. And the mom was like, "What?" And she's like, the actor from Death on the Nile, Major Fall from Grace, grew up in Cayman, life went to hell during COVID. And the mom goes, He's your concierge? There's rumors he eats people." Oh God. But yeah, it's yeah, I mean, and I guess this is it's a tricky situation, if it's not true. Like we said, we will never know. But if it is not true, that's sad. He obviously
Right.
has a problem, and even if he didn't physically do anything, he obviously made these women uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean, you know,
Right.
you know, I'm not one that, automatically believes right away. I need to see something. And like, yeah, those DMs were pretty crazy when they were going around. At the same time, there's apps now that you can create DM conversations
Right.
and they look real. You can create text message conversations. You can create any conversation on any app or whatever, and they look real. So it's like you can't even trust pictures like that anymore because,
Yeah.
how do you know that it's actually real and not from an app? But again, fact that he went to rehab tells me that something's not right. So, you know, throwing that out there.
Yeah. I guess I'm under the impression that yeah, he may be into the BDSM, but I am seriously kind of doubting the whole cannibalism thing.
Yeah.
And so him going to rehab for drugs, alcohol, and sex related issues could mean he was too far gone into the BDSM and he was unable to hear when the safe word was said and he didn't know when to stop.
hmm
Would probably be my guess as to why he went in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because I mean BDSM is very real. It's
It is.
very real, and like if you agree to it, like you need to make sure you have those standards, like you have that safe word for your protection and theirs, and to keep stuff like this from occurring. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that he's selling timeshares in the Cayman Islands. It's just
I mean, he literally has fallen.
yeah, that's without going to prison type of fall from grace. Like that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh yeah, and also really definitely related to this. Like I don't know if you both saw this, but like Robert Downey Jr. kind of got dragged into this because he
Yes.
came out and admitted that he helped pay for some of Armie's like treatments.
Which is that true?
I definitely saw an article about that.
No, I saw an article too, but it said a source close to Army said that. Every time I hear source, I'm reluctant to like automatically be like, haha, it's the truth.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because like, does RDJ even know Army? They been in any movies together? Like, uh,
Yeah.
I mean, not that they necessarily have to have been in a movie to know each other, but it's like, and I know like RDJ spoke out in being on Johnny's side and stuff like that and whatever, and it's like now all of a sudden it's like any guy any guy that he's like helping everyone out, and it's like I just I don't I don't get it. Like I hope it's not true. If Army really, you know, did the, like I don't know. It's all I don't know. I don't know what I hope. I hope none of it's true. Like, because I just
Yeah, I mean like this was like quite a few of the more reliable pop culture-y kind of websites and
yes.
magazines are talking about
Mhm.
it, which is why it possibly is true because I mean Vanity Fair is one of the ones that have written about this. So you would think that Vanity Fair would do
Yeah.
some kind of investigation into whether or not something is true before they start publishing articles about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, but I just
No, I know. No, I totally get what you mean. Like I,
always side eye it.
yeah, I mean, a lot of times I will side eye stuff, but if like more reliable websites are reporting something, it's more likely to be true. I mean, it could turn out that like it's not true because maybe wherever they got the information from, it turns out they were just straight up lying to the magazine or whatever. I mean, that has happened before, but it's more, but it's kind of like I'm more likely to believe this story because these certain ones are reporting on it
Yeah.
because they are generally better about as to the best of their ability, obviously. You're not omniscient, but to the best of their ability, they did look into stuff before
Right.
they post it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um I don't know. I can't think of why he would
Would.
do that.
Yeah. I do have one more person that I kind of want to add on last minute because I forgot
Yeah.
that this was posted. Ricky Martin was
Oh, yes, this
recently
is
yes,
yes.
recently accused of incest by his nephew, claimed
Oh
they had a
my.
relationship for 7 months. And then he had attacked him physically and psychologically, and the singer could face up to 50 years in prison in Puerto Rico. Now, here's two things. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole article, but the kid is or the nephew is 21, saying 7 month relationship with Ricky Martin. He broke it off. Ricky apparently became very obsessed and like wouldn't leave him alone and like all this. Ricky is married and has 2 kids, and not saying that that means anything, right? This kid lives in Puerto Rico, and Ricky lives in that long without. Puerto Rico's not that big. You're telling me that he had the secret relationship, and is it incest when it's his step sister's child? that considered incest? I hope he never
Uh,
even had a relationship with him, because that's, like, I don't think it's considered incest if it's his stepsister's son. When you're a step sibling, you have no blood relation.
right.
Yeah. Although I just don't know how it works in terms of legalese, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, how things are defined by legal definition may not necessarily reflect, common knowledge.
Right.
Because obviously if this was like really his like sister's kid, then that is just straight up incest. Like we know that. Like
Absolutely.
we all know
Yes.
that. But I don't know. I mean, it could be in legal terms, he may still be considered his nephew, and therefore it could be considered incest in that respect because
Right. And we don't know what Puerto Rican
yeah,
law, states,
right.
because in America, I'm pretty sure if it's a step sibling or step whatever, it's not considered incest, because you look at, like, what recently came out was Elon Musk's father has had 2 children with his stepdaughter, which that's just disgusting. Like, but because it was his stepdaughter, doesn't count as incest. So
Well,
Yeah.
he's not
I
going
just
to prison.
looked it up, and according to this is the UK. This is according to the UK. Because I said, is it considered incest if you date your stepsister's son? Just on the off chance here. And it says no. If you've grown up together and so would see the person as a sibling, then it's bordering on incest. Though you're still not genetically related, so biologically it's fine and the same as sex with anyone else.
Right.
So I would assume that probably is probably the truth for most countries. I mean, obviously I don't know what Puerto Rico's laws are.
Right. What laws are, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do a deep dive into the Puerto Rican law
No.
legal system. I'm not going to do it.
But,
No.
Ricky Martin kind of, obviously came out, said that they were false, and he's going, based off of legal matters. He can't say much more than that. But a lot of people seem to be on his side. His brother came out, and, he actually, his brother, and it's funny because when I was first reading the article, it was like the brother was the one that announced who was doing the who's basically alleging that he, is doing this. And name the guy and everything. I mean, he's 21, so it's not like it's illegal or anything. But so I thought, like, oh, it must be like his brother's son or something like that. And then I found out that the brother's on Ricky's side, saying there's no way Ricky could have done this, like absolutely not, blah blah blah. And then they mentioned that it was his stepsister's son. That's when I sat there and I was like, I mean, it's still icky if it's true, because, like, it's your stepsister's son, like, whatever. But is it technically, yes, because he doesn't share any blood with his stepsister. So now this is from the Daily Mail, who
Right.
was taking it from a newspaper, or an article in Puerto Rico. So maybe they translated it, and it's supposed to be half sister instead of stepsister, which obviously changes the game, and that would be considered incest. But if it is truly his stepsister and there's no blood relation, I don't see how that anything will happen. I truly hope that it's not true, because again, like, he's married, he has 2 kids, he's doing very well for himself. Like, he started kind of going back into the movies and whatever, and everyone that works with him loves him. Like, it would just be sad if that's the case, like, that he ruined his life for some 21-year-old kid, like why? So I obviously, as things go down, we'll learn more about it. But yeah, he could face up to 50 years in prison in Puerto Rico.
Then Puerto Rico must,
They take it seriously.
yeah, that it must be illegal there. Because I was just like looking, and literally most places around the world, it's fairly legal. I mean, incest itself, as in mother son, father daughter, brother sister, legal,
Right.
which is kind of icky
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit disturbing.
Yes.
a lot of places they prohibit them from getting married, but as long as it's a consensual relationship between two, if you're within the same age, you're not an adult minor, then nobody cares.
Yeah.
I'm
Like
like,
this kid's 21. He looks like he's a bodybuilder based on the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I that would be heartbreaking if it's not true that like his family's taking advantage of him, you know what I mean? Like, and then if it is true, it's heartbreaking. Like, it's a heartbreaking situation either way. So as we get more, we'll let people know on the line what's going on with that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add that one in since that was new.
Yeah, I mean, as of the date we're recording this literally just got announced earlier in the
This
week.
week,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very recent.
So,
Uh,
yeah. So I mean, obviously, like we didn't get into too much of the dark side stuff. We focused on a couple of major players, but they kind of represent some of the dark side. Obviously, there's also the drugs and alcohol, which has always been a problem. Eating disorders that always seem to happen. You know, it's crazy. Hollywood is just it's bananas, but it's always been bananas. And audiences are very naive because they get a great show, to watch and, go from there. But like, you see these actors and actresses and they drop weight super, super quick and then they have to gain weight super, super quick. I mean, it's just so unhealthy. So unhealthy. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, drugs and alcohol addiction is so real. And like children actors even get involved. I mean, look at Drew Barrymore. He came out the other side, thank God. How many child star actors die from overdoses? How many actors have committed suicide or had drug overdoses throughout the years? Like it's that's the dark side of Hollywood. It's like these people will do whatever they have to get to the top,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sad. Sad, and acting is an art. It's such a great art. It's something that I absolutely love, but I would never want to do Hollywood. I don't need to be a big screen. I'm okay with TV shows. Like, I'm okay with like, a Hallmark channel. That's fine, I can do that. But, it's
Yeah.
because the shenanigans that go on, like, mm, and not even just like the bad stuff, even the PR stuff is crazy. But we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So
And hey, to all you listeners, if you guys are interested in us continuing this general topic with the other questionable and darker stuff of Hollywood, we are perfectly fine with doing those in a future episode. So,
absolutely. Oh, I mean, there's so much that we could talk about.
yeah.
We've only just gotten to like some things, but yeah, I mean, in all honesty, we really could. Yeah, let us know if you want us to do another episode and kind of dive deeper into some other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of this show is that we can always talk about, like, expand on earlier topics, maybe go on a side note, because the conversation got interesting. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. So if you guys really are interested in us talking about those things, definitely feel free to let us know. Whether you're actually sending us messages about it or you guys start downloading episodes like crazy, showing that you are interested in this topic, that would help too. So, thanks for listening, everyone. Catch us next time.
And see what we're going to talk about.
Because the three fates decide.